Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Football Appreciation YouTube channel. Now, England disappointed us again, as usual. In my Euros predictions, I said we'd flop. And look, this isn't the end of the world, right? If you look at the group, assuming we beat Czech Republic, we'll probably go through. It doesn't really matter if we finish first or second anyway. If we finish first, it's good for confidence. If it's second, it's better for the draw. So, look, there's nothing really concerning about this game. However, if you look at it holistically, there's a lot of things that it feels like we're learning now that we should have learned 6 months ago. And there was a lot of things I think we learned in this game, most being negative. I think let's be positive. I think the one thing we learned is Tyrone Mings is actually not an awful centre back. Like, look, I don't rate Tyrone Mings that highly, but the one thing he does offer, he's good in the air. 2.88 aerial wins per 90 compared to John Stones' 1.9. That's a big difference. And when you're missing Harry Maguire, who's 4.2, that's ridiculous. That's one of the best in Europe. You kind of need Tyrone Mings, whether you think he's better than Connor Cody or not, for example. He's good for balance. He's good in the air. He's the most like-for-like centre-back we have from Maguire. Obviously, he's nowhere near as good on the ball. In terms of, I would have taken Tomori or Konsa, but I think Tyrone Mings has proved himself. He's been probably one of the most stable players over the two games. I'd still want Ben Chilwell next to him just because I think he's a better defender than Luke Shaw. But Tyrone Mings, one good positive. But let's go on to negatives. I think the first thing to me, it's mental. I mean, I'll put these into two things. It's mental to me that Jadon Sancho and Jude Bellingham aren't playing for us. I'm sure Gareth Southgate's not stupid. I'm sure he does watch the Bundesliga and has access to stats. Jadon Sancho is genuinely like top 5 best players in the world in his position. And there's not many players we have that we can really brag about that. The thing I love about Jadon Sancho is obviously like he's an amazing dribbler, we all know that. But he's such a good progressive passer. 6.5. That's mental. And of course he's a bit wasteful on the ball, a bit, because he's a creative player. But all his numbers are great. Obviously his defensive numbers aren't incredible, but none of our wide players are. So that's clearly not an issue for Gareth. And it just feels so weird that he's exiling probably our best wide player. And look, I love Phil Foden. I think he's class. And, he can play on the right wing. He was man of the match in the FA Cup final there, like 2 years ago. He can play there. But it feels mental to me that we're not taking our best dribbler and our best passer and our best creator. Or sorry, we're not playing him. Like, what's the point? You might as well not been there, especially if you're not going to bring him off the bench. And the same with Jude Bellingham. If you look at England's formation, what's the point in having two DMs there? Like, Declan Rice does not offer anything. Like, no offense to any Declan Rice fanboys out there, but Jude Bellingham is so much better, fam. Like, if you look at his stats, he's a pretty good defender and dribbler for someone that's a box-to-box guy, so you can trust him to do that work. He's not great on the ball, he's not terrible either, and he's just an amazing dribbler. He pops up in good areas. He's underperformed his XG a bit, actually, but he's everything we miss in a midfielder. I'm not saying they're the same type of midfielder, but Declan Rice doesn't even have as good defensive numbers, and he's an actual DM. He's a bit better on the ball, not that much better, and he offers nothing going forward, and he can't carry the ball. I think Calvin Phillips is a better player than him, so you might as well just play Jude Bellingham there. And it's not like Mount's not going to do any defensive work, so you can just use Jude Bellingham. It's mental to me that he's not using Jude Bellingham. Same with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Look, I don't rate Dominic Calvert-Lewin that highly. I think he's the most limited striker probably in Europe, but there's nothing wrong with that. And Gareth Southgate knows it. He's great in the air. It's the one thing he is good at, and he's a good finisher. So what's the point in taking him if you're going to bring on a not fit Marcus Rashford to play through the middle? It feels like we're wasting so much. It feels like we're wasting a spot in the squad. Like, what? Look, I personally would have taken Ollie Watkins. I think he's a more all-round forward for me, and he's still very good in the air. However, Gareth took Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a reason. Or at least I assume he did. Like, otherwise, why didn't you just take Mason Greenwood or Ollie Watkins? He's elite in the air, and you take off Harry Kane. That wasn't a game that needed someone in behind. Like, that Scotland team was sitting back with that back three. You don't need Marcus Rashford to get in behind Grant Hanley or a pretty quick Kieran Tierney or a pretty quick Scott McTominay. It was never going to work. It just kind of felt like Rashford was the more senior player, so we're just going to give him the minutes. But if you're going to take Dominic Calvert-Lewin, knowing he's not going to offer anything else, why not play him? And the final thing I think we learned from this game is we need this central midfield area is so key for me. Like I saw was watching the kickoff at the same time, and I saw them moaning about like the front four. And look, I love Raheem Sterling. I think he's class. I love Harry Kane. I love Mason Mount. I love most of this England squad, but you don't need two DMs when you've got a box-to-box midfielder like Jude Bellingham who also does defensive work, especially in games like this. I have no issue with it when you're in against the bigger teams, but you don't need Phil Foden on the wing either in a game like this for me. You need some pace. You need someone that can beat a man and put a ball in. That's not really what Phil Foden's game is. Personally, if in these sort of games, I'd want Foden more centrally. But look, England don't have to freak out about this. As much as I don't think we're going to do anything in this tournament, I think if we play a box-to-box midfielder, maybe bring Ben Chilwell in just for a bit of security, and put Jadon Sancho on one of those wings, I think we'll be fine. Genuinely, I do. Even with Gareth Southgate. But I think there's lessons that have to be learnt. And hopefully Gareth learns them. Otherwise, it could be a sticky situation getting out of this group. Or sorry, getting out of the first knockout round. But subscribe to the channel. Leave a like. Let me know what you thought of the game in the comments. And yeah, peace.